We good? We're on? All right. Hey, here we go. All right, you guys. We're going to wait a second or two before everyone starts plugging in and getting on here. Hey, and thank you guys for showing up. Thanks for being here. We're going to start doing this. I know that a couple weeks that we had it at 6 o'clock, but we're going to start doing this at 5 prompt on the nose moving forward so I can answer some of your questions and then we can go over some of the topics. And once again, disclaimer boop, boop, boop. I don't know everything. I don't know everything. You know, there's all these different ways to for recovery because what we're recovering is our inner spirit. That's what we're uncovering. We're finding out we got dark shadows and darkness inside of us, and we are doing some spiritual practices to remove that shit. You know, through my journeys, I have met quite a few people that have learned how to do this. You know, I've met swamis and priests and Buddhist monks and all kinds of people that are eternally happy. This is something that this is something because I am very non-denominational. You know, I value faith humongously. I value our higher power humongously. You know, but when people start squabbling about this way, that way, my way, not your way, I just it kind of like bums me out a little bit because sometimes they get so hateful, hateful. You're wrong and I'm right, and that's not cool. You know, people have their journey. And what's trippy is sometimes some people's journey requires going down an avenue that I don't want to say it's right or wrong or good or bad, but it's important. Just like my journey required me to go in and out of prison for years, to keep screwing up, to keep becoming the biggest disappointment in my family's life. That was my journey. I was in and out of the rooms, basically the big FU to previous sponsors, previous mentors, previous faiths, religions, and that was my attitude because it was me against the world. And guess who won in the end of it all? At the end of it all, I turned into a victim of the world because the world is, it's sometimes not a cool place, but it turns out I was the thing that was not cool, making the world not a cool place. I was looking for things to be pissed off at, things to be angry at, things to explain, like people to blame, you know? So the point of that is it's an inside job. This is recovery. We are recovering our inner spirit of joy that has a bunch of pain on top of it. That's why most of the time we can't feel it. But I have met lots of people that are happy, stoked. Because the main thing that I judge, I hate to use the word judge, measure. Let's use measure. You know, when somebody talks about their faith, their beliefs, their principles, and they might be a different faith than I am. They might be have a different way of recovery than I do. The bottom line that I look for, I ask them, "Are you happy? Are you happy? Do you love yourself? Do you love your life? Do you love the world that you live in? Do you care about people enough to be able to help them when they're suffering and hurting?" That's that's the measure. If they come, they go, "Well, happiness is overrated." Happy. I'm not happy, but I work hard and I blah 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 blah. Or the reason I'm not happy is because of this and this and this. And like I go, well, maybe we might want to open up a little bit and look at something different because I'm happy. 90% of my day, I'm happy. Happy. 10%, I got rivers of insecurities and fears and frustrations that roll through me, and I get stuck tripping on some circumstance, situation, person, place, thing, and I can get stuck. Sometimes I'll go down to a 20% confusion in that day, and that's okay. That is okay. It's okay. I'm not freaking perfect, and I don't know freaking everything. All I know is how to go from one of these fucking failures, angry, weird dudes, into someone that loves their life, and that was through some spiritual practices that I have learned in my journey, and I apply those spiritual practices in my life. There's this part in that AA book. It says, if we fail to perfect and enlarge in our spiritual life, we will not survive the low spots ahead. I do lots of spiritual shit over my last 13 years. I went through all 12 steps. I learned some tools, some principles to apply to my life. But I've also learned some other stuff. I go through all these spiritual kicks, chanting. I became a yoga instructor, the active mindfulness, breathing exercises. I go through all kinds of stuff because, it's practices. I went to 11 days in the desert on a silent retreat. And that was one of the most difficult things that I've ever done. Hey, you know what the hardest thing to do in life is? You know what it turns out? Nothing. To sit there and do nothing. That is so hard. I'll share this with you. My mom, I told her, hey, I'm going out to this 11 days in the desert at this place called the Vipassana Center. It's like it's got a Buddhist flavor to it. And I went out 11 days out there, and no, they said, no reading, don't bring any books, no writing, you're not going to do any journaling. Refrain from any yoga exercises, refrain from any exercise. All you're going to do is meditate 3 times a day for an hour and a half, or you can go back to your little bungalow and meditate some more. And then there's also no talking. That was so hard. But doing nothing is very powerful, because in deep meditation, you think you're doing nothing. You're actually plugging in to source. Stop the thinking mind, plug into source. So I've done a lot of spiritual practices, but I keep the principles that I've learned from the 12 steps primary in my life. And, AA doesn't have a monopoly on principles. They don't have a monopoly on recovery. AA doesn't have a monopoly on applying cool shit to your life. They don't. But I will tell you that it is a badass way to recover. It's a badass way to unlock that hidden thing inside of us that makes us feel like shit all day, or makes us confused, or pride, or ego, whatever it is. Anyway, that's rambling a little bit now. All right, here we go. Let's deal with some of these questions, some of these comments. And the topic today is called Unfuckwithable. Unfuckwithable. The definition, I came across that word a while back, and it just has so much meaning to me. Unfuckwithable, the definition is when you're truly at peace and in touch with yourself, that nothing anybody says or does bothers you, and no negativity or drama can touch you. Unfuckwithable. Can't be fucked with. Powerful juju. Hard to practice. Like I said, I am not perfect at it, but I aspire to be it every freaking day. The world's going to have their way, and I'm not going to poison myself based upon their opinions, their values, their whatever. I'm not, I'm not going to infect myself from negative shit to the best of my ability. Sometimes I get infected. But I have some tools to release that. Release that. Woo-saw, motherfucker. All right, here we go. Opening questions. A Gritish 1992, Agritesh 1992. How do you find peace? Okay, here it is. That is hard to practice. But peace is what? What's the definition of peace? Being calm, serenity, joy in the moment. No conflict, no disturbance, no emotional feelings, just peace. How do you get it? Turns out that inside of our brain, when it is not peaceful, inside of our brain and inside of our heart, our broken hearts, there is not peace because we've been hurt. We've been hurt 1,000 times in our past. We've been hurt, disrespected, abused, made to fear, and this creates fear within us. You know, we get a little gun shy. We don't know if this endeavor that we go on, we have full of doubts. We don't know if this new job is going to work out. We don't know if this new relationship is going to work out. We don't know if this new relationship that we're getting into, that this person is going to treat us the same way we got treated last time. We got these fears, you know what I mean? We don't know. You know, we learned some things from our parents. Our parents might have been not cool, or our grandparents or our uncles, and so they freaking hurt us. So guess where all that shit lives? Within. And what does that do inside? It's this bubbling cauldron of disturbance within. So how do you stop the disturbance? The thinking, how do you stop that? That's how. Well, you learn to release that disturbance. You get the names of that disturbance. You know what those names are? Shame, failure, fear, disappointment, frustration, irritation, pride, pride. These things inside of us that are just bubbling crap. So, how do we release those? Like I said earlier about this thing, meditation. Meditation, if you've never done it before, 3 minutes of meditation is a pain in the ass. You'll find out that you weren't meditating, that you were thinking the whole time. And it is so powerful because the ego revolts against meditation. The ego says, you are wasting your time. How long have you been sitting here? Oh, you're just going to sit here and do nothing. That's not the answer to your life. You need to make money. You need to fix the stuff that you broke. You need to get you need to get a lot more stuff. You need to get the hell out of here. You need to get back to the gym. You need to eat right. You need to lose weight. You need to be taller. And the ego doesn't shut up. So you have to practice having the ego shut its fucking mouth. This is why we're not at peace. So we have to let go of this past, this poisonous past where we've been hurt because we keep encountering fears today because we haven't let go of the fears of the past. We are unable to be a new creation today because we keep bringing our old creation of yesterday into today. And it is a spiritual energy practice. Fear is an energy. Anger is an energy. Worry is an energy. Loneliness is an energy. You don't blame the world on your loneliness. You recognize that you are choosing negative energy within you and you're calling it loneliness, but maybe it's like fear of being alone because you've been alone and you've needed somebody to love you, to fulfill you, and now you're alone and now you just don't feel right. And actually, that's a energy that you were choosing from your past experiences to poison your day today. So we need to learn to let that go. So how? So if somebody is poisoning themselves with the thought or the emotion of loneliness every day that you think that thought or have that feeling that is practiced over a week, a month, a year, 5 years, how much of that lonely energy have they packed into their spirit? A lot. So how do we let that shit go? Except that we have this feeling that we're labeling loneliness. I don't want to be a victim of that shit anymore. I'm going to let that shit go. And then when you get into meditation or prayer, you learn to release that. I release you. I'm not going to trip on you. I'm not going to blame the world for my loneliness. I'm not going to be a victim. I'm going to stop the loneliness faucet from running wide open. So it takes practice to find peace. It takes practice. You know, in a 3-minute meditation, if you're not familiar with meditation, you might get 11 seconds of peace and 249 seconds of disturbance. But you know what? That 11 seconds is enough. The next day you'll get 12, maybe 15, maybe 20. Practice, 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 practice. You know where everything exists? You know where God exists? In between your thoughts. In between your thoughts. And the deal is in between, that space between words, that space between thoughts, that empty space. That is where the universe and God can create from. We are not giving them any room to get in there. One thought after another thought, after another thought, after another emotion, after another emotion. So we have to practice giving some room and not be plagued with this poisonous shit that we think. Woosah. Woosah. Find some peace. So, a British practice. Practice. Get 1 minute. Get 10 seconds. Pause. Recognize that you're always right here in the present moment, and it is okay. All right, here we go. Unofficial sponsor. Past trauma I have suppressed so much that I have forgotten. My childhood, my childhood. Should I try to remember that to be able to help people more? Okay, this is great. This is wonderful. Unofficial sponsor. Check this out. So, you know what? If you don't remember the names and you don't remember the circumstances or the situations or exactly how it was, but guess what? The traumas remanifest into each day. You know, there's a thing called a 10 step that we do in the program, and the 10 step is just being aware. Where was I angry, hostile, pissed off, emotional, selfish, dishonest? Where was I practicing poisonous shit? Okay, that is what's important. But we do remember our past, just a couple of them, or even our present. Sometimes we don't even recognize how much we remanifest of our childhood traumas in the last week. You ever get pissed off? Like you're just driving and then someone might have like cut you off a little bit or something, like not even that much. It was just super insignificant. It didn't cause an accident. Then all of a sudden anger manifests and then you take it out on that car and then you're taking it out on your past and then you're taking it out on your neighbor and then you're yelling you're just angry. That's a remanifestation of the fear because you've been hurt of the past. You don't have to remember every little tiny exact detail. You just got to remember when it sucked. You don't have to have the name, the exact circumstance or situation. You just got to go back in your life where things sucked. I will share this with you because it's my story. So when I used to think about, because my dad was very hands-on and he was a big man. He was my stepdad and he was very physically violent. Just I'm gonna clean that. That's how it was. You know, I made amends to him and he's made amends to me before he passed. But I sat there and I think about the rotten shit that happened to me in my past, and like I would just like, oh, okay, yeah, whatever, that sucked. Okay, I'm just gonna go get a sandwich now. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I don't know why that memory just came back to me, but yeah. Anyway, I got shit to do, right? But when I wrote down as much as I could of those circumstances and situations, and I only got like, I mean, I couldn't remember every one. It was a lot, but when I remembered and I went down that list, the amount of energy that was in that revelation was pretty gnarly, you know? And it was emotional, man. Like I was a kid, man. I didn't need to go through that shit. That was freaking rough. And there was energy packed in there. And I didn't write down and remember every single entire event, just a lot of them, as many as I can remember. So you don't have to remember every little thing to help people, you know, but we can't ignore. Okay, I'll tell you that. Let me just tell you this, unofficial sponsor. If you're happy, joyous, and free, like you can go to the park right now and hang out there all day long and not even really do anything. If you could have happiness for watching the ducks in the pond, watching the clouds in the sky, and just be totally content with yourself when you're by yourself. You go to the grocery store and you're in line, you're by yourself, and you like love it, then no, you don't have to go through all that. But if you find yourself disturbed by people's actions, behaviors, and mouths, if you find yourself disturbed because you don't feel like you're not enough, then you got some inner work to do. But if you have found total peace and happiness and you enjoy your life and are not using today as a means to get somewhere, then no, you don't got to do that because obviously you have been able to process the pain of your childhood out of you. But if you're not happy, or if helping other people, you get wrapped up in other people all the time, but when you're by yourself and alone, you're not, then you just got some work to do. And when that pen starts flowing, when you start writing down about your childhood, when that pen starts flowing, I promise you, more will be revealed. You do a little prayer before, hey, let me get all this shit out. Let me see all this and let me burn this thing. Let me recognize, you know? That's what I got to say to you, unofficial sponsor. Ether Bear, Otho Bear, Otho Bear. Sorry, I'm not making fun of your name. It's just how it looks here. How about a man who's been in and out for years? You're looking at a man that's been in and out for years. Many years. I went to my first meeting when I was like 19 years old. And I stuck around for a minute because I knew that I couldn't keep suffering and then using all these substances as an excuse. And then I proceeded after that to go to 10 more rehabs. 20, I can't even count how many detoxes and hospitals I've been to. Can't tell you how many times I've overdosed. I spent 15 years in prison on the installment plan over and over and over again. What about a guy who's been in and out for years? At 42, I just recognized I cannot stop screwing myself based upon my own ideas. I am screwing myself by my own hand. I'm doing this. The recognition that I have become everything I never wanted to be. I didn't want to be a stressed out maniac. I didn't want to be a deadbeat dad. I didn't want to be the biggest disappointment in my family's life. I didn't want to be a 42-year-old man with nothing. I didn't want to be dependent upon people. All I wanted was to have a cool life. And then I recognized that that day was the sum result of my entire life's work. A black trash bag in some tweaker pad. This is the sum result of my entire life's work. So I surrendered, which is a hard word. Surrender is a hard word, but surrender is a badass word. I recognize that I did this by my own hand, by my own choices, by my own decisions. I became that. So when I surrendered, waved the white flag, and I said, you know what? You teach me. I need somebody to teach me because I cannot teach myself anymore. And that's a hard pill to swallow. And that was finally defeating the pride within me that kept telling me in my brain that I have all the answers. So what about a man that's been in and out for years? What about a man that's been in and out for years? You can do this. You can change. You can transform. You can no longer be a victim of the past. I don't care if you've been in and out for a million frickin' times. As long as you're breathing fresh air, I don't care how old you are. As long as you got breath in your lungs, you got a beating heart, and you have a mind, you can guide that into victory. But that guidance can't come from a bunch of broken shit in you. It's got to come from an outside source or information to be able to guide you. Find winners, do what winners do, and you will win. Find myself as a loser, and I'm trying to take my loser's advice, and I want to spit out diamonds where I've always spit out garbage before. And no, I can't take advice from myself. So yeah. All right, here we go. Oh shoot, we're going to go to my story now. Okay. Okay, you guys. This is going to be kind of a shorty version of my story. This is my story. So my name's Danny. I'm an alcoholic and an addict, and I've been on drugs. I can't mention those drugs for some reason. TikTok doesn't like me to name drugs, but I've been on. As far as drugs go, yeah, I've been on all of them. Heavily addicted to all of them at different times because I could not cope through life feeling stone cold sober. I didn't like that feeling of being stone cold sober. I needed something. I've been on every freaking medication you could possibly freaking think of. I've been diagnosed ADHD, manic depressant, bipolar, schizoaffective, anxiety disorder, depressive disorder. I've been on Haldol, Meloril, Cogentin, lithium. I've been on Wellibutrin, Prozac, Zoloft. I've been prescribed Adderall, Xanax. I've done all these freaking medications because whenever I was sober, something was still not right inside of me. I got opioid disorder. I got freaking amphetamine disorder. I got ADHD disorder. I just got disorder. So whenever I was sober, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 6 months, a year, I would have to go to the freaking doctor and get on some kind of medication because my energy was still shot to shit. And I know I'm really passionate about this, but I was like, what was I doing? Believing some doctors to give me stuff. And here's a little disclaimer. I'm not saying those medications are bad. They helped. They helped me big time, but they were never the long lasting silver bullet. Never. They peter out, and then I got to up dosages, and then I got to mix dosages, and then I got to mix cogentin with the lithium and then I got to do these antipsychotics, and I got to mix freaking Meloril with what was that other one? I kicked it so bad it was so gnarly. Haldol, and I'm mixing all these medications together, and then eventually every time taking 9 pills, and then all of a sudden I'm like, this stuff kind of works, but you know what works better? Black tar. That works better. You know what works better? A big old fat bowl of shards. That works better. Drinking, and that works way better. And I would always relapse, and I would go over and over. This last time at 42 years old, walking into my 10th rehab, my 10th 90-day rehab, and I found out that no matter what substance I take in my body to change the way I feel, I will always go down the rabbit hole of substances. I will always go down the rabbit hole of substances. I will always become physically addicted to something, and it will peter out, and my life will be smashed to shit. I saw some happy, joyous people. I mean, I've seen them for years, I guess. Happy, joyous, and people really, before, bugged the shit out of me. I did not like happy people because I wasn't happy. So I just learned I surrendered. I went into a program and I heard this guy talk about these 12 steps. And I thought about how many meetings I've gone to, thousands by that time. How many sponsors have I had? Quite a few of them. I never did everything that they told me to do. I went to all these 12 step stuff. And then I heard a guy at a panel say the program isn't putting the plug in the jug. The program's at 12 steps. And I thought, I was, it's like I was going to baseball camp. Every time I go to baseball camp, thousands of journeys to baseball camp, thousands of journeys to hanging out in the stadiums, going to baseball camp over and over and over again. And then I look back and I'm like, I was never playing baseball. I was just hanging out in these rooms. I was kind of doing it, but not really. And then I found out there was some work to be done in those rooms. And that work was having a sponsor, having a Sherpa, having a guide, having a mentor show you some stuff on how to remove that negative crap within. So I'm not saying that medication is horrible. I'm not saying that medication doesn't work. I'm not saying any of that stuff, but I'm going to tell you that I was on all that stuff. I'm not a liar. I was physically addicted to Haldol when I got off it. After taking it for so long, I had a seizure. I was off it for 11 days. I had a seizure. I had to go to the hospital because my body was kicking Haldol. Melorel I tapered off of. Lithium and all that other shit. I just went back to using street drugs to get off all that shit. And then this last time, I didn't want to be on any medications anymore. I didn't want to do this no more. I just did not want to do this no more. And if I'd been in such pain that I just surrendered. And then I thought I was going to live like a little pathetic minimum wage job. And I was going to ride a bicycle and I was just going to be bored out of my mind forever. And at that point, I was cooler with that than I was keep going in and out of prison, keep getting strung out, and keep kicking those opiate drugs. I was cool with living a simple, sad, pathetic, boring life and, over the pain that I'd caused my family and everybody else. And that was the point that I got to. But it turned out that was a lie. That was a giant fucking lie because life today is greater than it's ever been in my entire freaking human existence. This is greater than my childhood. This is greater than I have ever lived. I've accomplished more in these last 13 years than I ever have. That's why I believe in God. That's why I believe in a higher power, because I can't explain why I can accomplish this stuff now. All I know is that this higher power, prayer and meditation, I learned how to release the negative energies inside of me. That's what the 10th step, that's what 6 and 7's for. That's what the first step, admitting I'm powerless over this negative shit, and then learn how to release it instead of fighting it like I always did, because that's what I was taught. So, yeah, I went into after in and out of years. And, I used to think one time when I got out of prison, I thought, you know what, school. I'm going to go to college and I'm going to get a degree and I'm going to stop doing crime and I'm going to stop doing all these hard drugs and I'm going to stop doing all this stuff. I'm going to be with my family every day and I'm going to go to school to get a degree. Heck yeah, that's my solution. So I went to school. I signed up at college, got out of prison, went to school, signed up for college, got a freaking all this stuff going in and out. But then eventually I want to smoke weed. Eventually I'm drinking a little bit and I got it under control and I'm okay. I'm still getting straight A's, but I was taking 19 units some semesters at Orange Coast College. And that's like 7 in the morning to 10 o'clock at night staying on campus. And I believed if I just use my brain and just focus on what do I want to achieve, that I am going to achieve it. I can do anything I want to do. I'm smart enough. I have that much potential. I'm going to focus it. But guess what? I got a little root of fear in me. I got a little root of shame in me. I got a little root of not cool in me. And that thing pollutes and infects everything that I'm freaking doing. And I'm drinking a little bit and I'm smoking a little bit and I'm freaking doing all this stuff a little bit. And then that thing just grew. And then the shame and the guilt and the fear and all this stuff. So I'm using more, I'm drinking more, and then I screw myself. I found out that if I can't get rid of that shame and that guilt and that fear that is within me, I will never succeed at anything in my entire freaking life. If I'm constantly just fighting for everything everywhere, then I'm gonna get my ass kicked. Because fighting is not it, and that might not make a lot of sense for some people because there's normal people that can drink and smoke and they just got some other issues and they work on those, but the substances never had a problem over them. Maybe it was shame, maybe it was guilt, maybe it was fear, maybe it was codependency or something. But whatever that root is that's in us, that thing will infect everything. Some normal people can have great lives and party, and they believe fighting for everything, fighting for your life, fighting for everything, fighting and fighting, and they can succeed and find happiness through fighting. Okay. I just found out that I couldn't until I learned how to release the negative shadows in my heart. And that came from my past. So what I did, okay, so here's my story. Here's my story. Super easy, super simple. 14 years old, I found out partying was great. I found out I liked drinking. I found out I liked smoking. And then I started learn how to fight. So I still loved fighting. And then fighting, drinking, partying, woo, feel great. Without that shit, feel like crap. But then there was consequences with that. So I started getting arrested. I started running away. And then I got a little habit going on. So I got to steal and I got to hustle because I ain't got no time to freaking work. And then, so I'm going in and out of jails. Then I got to clean up. I get out of jail. I'm going to go to a rehab. So I go to a freaking rehab and I clean up and I'm bored out of my mind and I really don't like it. And it's okay. It's all right. But it's not as fun as a kegger with a party and eating ecstasy and acid. So I would always do that. And then I would lose control. And then I'd go to another rehab and I'd go on another run and I'd hurt someone real bad and I'd go to prison. And then I'd get out, swear that I would never do that again. And then I would like be cool for a little while with a little minimum wage job, little bicycle, little car, little scooter, little motorcycle. And then I would do that. And then I would not feel very satisfied with my life. And I'd go back and then I'd go back to hurting somebody, go back to prison again, get out of prison again, make a bunch of freaking promises, and then go in a minute and just a cycle over and over again, over and over. My life consisted, it's an easy story. I know that I speak at a lot of places and I go in depth to a lot of stuff, but I would try to walk into the light and I'd go into darkness. I'd try to walk into the light and I'd go into darkness. I'd try to walk into the light and I'd go into darkness. I just never persevered and I never got past a certain point and I kept failing over and over. I didn't want to fail. So at 42 years old, getting out of prison with a black trash bag, I went on a run. And then I'm sitting here, I'm on this run and I'm doing this stuff and I'm laughing and I'm joking and I'm plotting crimes. And my family doesn't want nothing to do with me. No one wants nothing to do with me. And I'm plotting who I'm going to rob and who I'm going to steal from and who am I going to get and how am I going to come up and to get some more money to get some more of this shit and have a freaking great time and then find a chick and find a place to kick it. And then it's going to be okay. And then I looked over in the corner of that room in my black trash bag. And you know what was in that black trash bag? Everything I own. The sum result of my entire life's work. And then I looked at myself. You know what I was doing at 14 years old? That's the first time I encountered, how do I say this? Because I wanted to shut me off. Hard blow. That's where you put it in there and, right? Anyway, when I was 14 years old, when I first encountered that, and I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. I love this stuff so much. And so I was in a weird house with a weird dude, and I'm smoking weird stuff, and I'm loving it, and I'm thinking, how am I going to get some more money to get some more of this stuff? And then 30 years later, I'm in a weird house with a weird dude, and I'm plotting crimes. How am I going to get some more money to get some more of this stuff? I had become nothing. I was the same little 14-year-old kid, and that stuff was my only happiness and joy. I love that stuff so much. That was the only thing that made me happy and joyful and feel. And I'm doing it from 14, and I'm doing it at 42. So I went into this rehab. And there were some friends of mine that went through that process of change, the 12 steps, and they were happy, joyous, and free. They had companies and jobs and houses. They were getting married, and they were like happy. And they're like, dude, we got a bed for you. Show up here. And they got a bed for me. God bless Woodglen. That was my 10th rehab. And I went into that program, and I just felt screwed. I felt screwed. I felt screwed for two reasons. One reason that I felt screwed is the thought I now know that I can't smoke a joint without it turning into my life being destroyed. I can't drink a beer without knowing that it's going to turn my life into crap. I can't do anything. Any substance I take in my body turns me into a giant failure. I was convinced. So the thought that I'm never going to use substances to have a good time ever again really made me sad and depressed. Normal people can go with it or without it. Normal people can go, I'm doing the sober January, and they go all January without drinking. That's great. They don't have a problem with it. You know what I mean? They might have other issues, but that's not their problems. So I just couldn't believe that I'm going to go through life without anything. And that really made me sad. I'm going to have to feel like this forever. And then the other reason that I felt screwed is I've been sober before. I've been sober before 100 freaking times. And it was never great. It was never amazing or awesome or great. It was okay. It was all right. It was cool. You know what I mean? Kinda. Sober picnics, yay. Sober stag meetings. Right on, bro. Sober dating, sober, it is sober anything. Like it was not great. So I thought that I was going to have to feel like that forever. I thought I've been sober before. That's what sobriety feels like. And I thought that that's how I'm going to feel forever, is that way. Because I've gotten a year and a half sober before, no substances, abstinences, and I've gotten that kind of time, and it was never great. So anyway, I thought that I was going to feel that way. That's why I was screwed. But then I went into this program, and I heard the program's not putting the plug in the jug, and now you're going to be amazing. The program's about change. The program's the 12 steps. And I thought, I've never done these things. I was at baseball camp for years and never played baseball. So I made an inner commitment that no matter what I think and no matter what I feel, I'm going to complete all 12 steps. So I got my sponsor, and if you guys don't believe, or you guys never done the 12 steps to the best of your ability, which means that if to the best of your ability means that without looking down on a piece of paper, that you can tell me every single step, you can tell me how you did this step, then I will believe that you went through all 12 steps. And then the 12th step is helping others. If you're not helping others get sober or get cleaned up or helping them get out of their darkness, then you're not practicing the 12th step. That's so if you've done it. So I found these guys that had done that. And they showed me the way. And my sponsors showed me, I get it. Step one, I'm powerless. I'm powerless against screwing my life. I'm powerless against feeling angry and hateful and full of fear. I'm powerless against fucking having doubt or insecurities. I'm powerless against negativity. I don't have the power in me to get happy, joyous, and free. I get it. Step one. Step two, came to believe in a power greater than ourselves to restore us to sanity. All I got out of that step was, I agree. I agree that if I don't have the power in me to make myself feel abundant, strong, and badass right now, then yeah, I need a different power. Step three, made a decision to turn my will and my life over to the care of God as I understand Him. Step 3 was like, okay. I wrote down the third step prayer 5 times, okay. And then my sponsor told me to pray every day on my knees and do this third step prayer. And I told him I don't believe in God. I don't want to do it. I told him, like, because I don't believe, I'm not going to hit my knees. And then he asked me some questions. Where's your happy family, Danny? Where's your car? Where's your house? Where's your key to any lock? He goes, so maybe the solution to your life is being presented to you right now, but you can't see it because you're so full of your own ideas it don't work. And it gets you nothing but failure. So I told him, okay. So I hit my knees every day. I hit my knees every day, and I prayed to a God that I didn't believe in. I was praying to the air. I was praying to the blankets. I was just doing it. But something began shifting inside of me every single day. And it took a little while. I mean, like, not a little, like a couple months, a month or two of doing this prayer on my knees every day, saying this thing, God, I offer myself to thee, and saying this thing. And then there's a part in the book that says, God does not place too many demands on those who seek him. And so those prayers were going up, and God, the creator, the infinite wisdom of everything, love, heard me, started breaking that shit up within me. And that shit started going. And then I got to my 4th step, made a fearless searching and moral inventory of my life. I went through the 4th step and I wrote down every single person that ever screwed me over, every single person that ever hurt me, every embarrassing weirdo moment that I was holding deep inside my darkest heart, things I never wanted to tell another human being. I wrote all that shit out. And then I got to my sponsor, admitted to God, to myself, and another human being the exact nature of my wrongs. So I sat down and I freaking read all that shit, and I let shine the light of truth, and the truth will set you free. And I shined on there. And then he told me about step 6 and 7. Step 6 and 7 is, okay, based upon your story, based upon everything that you have been through, you have guilt and shame and fear and resentment and pain inside of you. Now you're going to learn how to pray and meditate and release that stuff. That's step 6 and 7. So I was doing that every day. Then 8 and 9, I'm going to align with my moral compass. 8, having made a list of all people we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. Now I'm going to go clean up my past. I'm going to go tell people I dogged them. I hurt them. I abused them. I'm going to go tell people I freaking lied to them, stole from them, cheated them. And I'm going to go do my best to make it right. You never deserved. So I wrote these letters. I went and I made these amends. And some of them didn't go over very well. Then I got to step 10. Continue to check myself for negative shit every day that's going on within me. Continue to take moral inventory, and when I was wrong, promptly admitted it. So now I'm just checking myself every day, seeing where that 6 and 7 crap pops up inside of me. And then I know that I have some tools to be able to release that, clean that shit up, keep it straight, keep it good. Don't freaking manifest crap and negative energy inside of me. Step 11, sought through prayer and meditation, improve my conscious contact with God, source, infinite wisdom of all, love. And I continued to pray, and I learned meditation, and I kept meditating, I kept praying. And then step 12, having had a spiritual awakening. And that spiritual awakening is, all that spiritual awakening is, you pass that joint to me, I have absolutely no desire to hit it. You throw me a beer, that doesn't even sound good. The spiritual awakening is, I love myself. I love my life. I love this world that I live in. You know what I mean? Because the world that I live in is my relationships with my neighbors and my friends and my jobs. And that's the world I live in. The world, that's the world I live in. And the world I live in, I love it. I love to see people smile and laugh. I love to see people get out of the darkness and achieve victory. I love to see them with their kids again. I love to see them get off probation, get off parole. I love to see them help others. I love to see them get a new car. I like it when they get their driver's license and they're 40 years old and they haven't had one in 20 years. I love that. I love that. When someone's 40 years old or 30 years old and they're like going and open up a bank account for their first time. Like, I love that. That's the world I get to live in. I love it. I love people in a way I never have before. And that is the spiritual experience. That is the psychic change. Got love in my heart. So much love that I don't want to screw this up. So much love that I look at that, any kind of substances, and I'm like, I love myself too much to even trip on that. I love myself too much to frickin' play the victim and start yelling and screaming angry things at people, how bad they are. I love myself too much to let myself screw something up. I love myself too, and that's all it is. That's what the higher power is, you guys, is love. And it's the love that manifests in the day that's like, I love the sunrise. I love yoga. I love weird yoga music. And I listen to it and I chant all the stuff with it. And I find great peace with that. I love the squirrels that come out of my tree and get the little nuts that I set out for them. I love to see children play. I love a pumpkin spice latte when it comes out at Starbucks. That's the kind of love, man. So I continue to do other spiritual practices, chakra breathings, grounding meditations, mantras, prayer, all kinds of stuff. But number one thing is I do my best to remain a servant. I'm a servant today, and I'm cool with that. I know that years ago, if I told my mom, my family, my celly, and I said, "Hey, you know what? In a few years from now, I'm gonna be a servant. That's gonna be the solution to my life. I'm just gonna be a badass servant. Yeah, I'm just gonna run around and help people for free. I'm just gonna run around and give people money all the time." That sounds so not cool. But it turns out service is the greatest thing ever. I'm here to, the end of my life isn't going to be defined by money, property, prestige. It's not going to be defined by businesses or how much money I made. It will be 100% defined by how many people that I've helped, the impact that I've made in this life, because I truly believe that's the reason I'm here. I can't explain why I feel good about who I am after all the horrible shit I've been through and did, you know? And so now I just want to help people out of that trap, you know? So I don't know. That's my story. Um, I just keep doing this stuff. I'm a counselor today. I'm an interventionist. I founded a foundation in 2017 where we've helped hundreds of people. Continue to help people. We go to court. We advocate for people. I have a morning meeting every morning at my office where I have 50, 60 people show up every freaking morning, and we just laugh and joke and drink coffee and and just keep each other accountable. And I speak in a lot of places. I travel all over. I'm going to Utah this weekend, and just carry the two of the most important things in my life. Two, carrying the message and helping the newcomer. That's it. I can't help everybody, but I do my best to help as much as I can to who I can, you know. And I think that the higher power has a deal with me. He says, "Danny, you have hurt so many people in your life. If I gave you what karma says that you deserve to get your head kicked in every freaking day. The the amount of pain that I caused my mother, my daughter, my family is gnarly. People out there, I hurt people mentally, physically, emotionally, financially, spiritually, you know? And he says, hey, I got to deal with you. If you, instead of hurting people, now you're going to help people, I will grant you the grace of happiness, of joy, of peace, serenity. I'll take care of everything you need. And he has. He has, man. So I don't ever want to stop doing this. I don't ever want to stop caring about people. And I definitely don't want to sit around and just care about myself all day. That never worked. Anyway, I don't know if that was my whole story. That's just bits and pieces. I mean, I could speak for hours about the journey, but I love you guys. I know that sounds so just dumb. That like I love you guys, and I've never sat down with a ton of you out there. And but with the gift of recovery, the gift of the psychic change, came this gift of compassion that I care. I don't want you to go suffer no more. Like I could feel it. I don't want you to be in pain and misery and hurt yourself and hurt your families and your children and your parents. Like I don't want that. That's hard. And you don't deserve that. You don't. You deserve to find a way that you could be happy, joyous, free, find freedom in this place called life. I want you to grow and thrive. I want you to be amazing. I do so bad. That's why I do this. I hope I shared a little something, and I hope I maybe made a difference for one person. I don't know. Um, I just got it on my heart to share with you guys. Anyway, hey, that's it for this week. So next week, shoot your questions. Shoot your questions. If you anything about spirituality, recovery, whatever, I will do my best to answer them. I'm gonna pull some up, and next week I will pick some people and point that stuff out. So
We'll try to go live with guests.
oh, we're gonna work on going live with guests.
So if anyone has questions, come up and everything.
I think that you can hit a live button and ask some questions live so I can hear you, right? Is that how that goes?
Yeah.
Okay, so you can press some buttons and then go live and ask me some live questions, and you'll be on this little show too, this little show. Okay, thank you guys. God bless. Blessings of light and love and abundance, and I hope you find what you're looking for, which is always awesomeness. We'll see you guys next week. Thank you so much. Bam. Okay, we out.